normative and what are positive theories. Those are two fundamentally different kinds of statements. So we should probably be talking more about normative statements and positive statements, but they are usually tied to specific theories that have normative or positive implications. Normative theories theorize on how reality or society should be, which intersubjective arguments, or arguments shared or agreed upon by the interested community, can justify which standards for evaluating good or bad and critiquing existing norms. This usually doesn't require any empirical data to assess and develop theories in the first place, though descriptions of reality often inform normative theories because, for instance, you first have to see a phenomenon that you consider to be bad to come to the conclusion that it's bad and establish a more general, more fundamental normative thought around it. Because it's not about how things really are, but how they should be, normative theories cannot be right or wrong in the first place. However, they can be sound or unsound, appropriate or inappropriate. Right? So that's a different, so it's not about truth. It's about consistency and it's about appropriateness and agreement with the normative statement or not. The concepts are often, because they are not designed to be measured and observable, they often are not immediately accessible to a reliable and valid measurement and observation, which is sometimes creates a divide between normative theory and its counterpart, the positive theory we will look at in a minute. Examples would be the realm of journalistic objectivity, where we can also have positive theories, but we have normative thoughts there as well. A concept like journalistic objectivity could be informed by normative statements, such as that news coverage should be objective. This means, among others, that all relevant sides in an issue should be given voice and that the journalist portrays the sides in a neutral, non-partisan fashion. So we define what objectivity is, probably even in a way that could be measured, but first and foremost, the normative part of the statement is that news coverage should be objective. That's the desirable thing for news coverage. It should be objective. It's better if it's objective than if it's not. So we prescribe how reality should be. An example from institutional theory would be that administrative institutions should act in accordance with the norms in society around them to safeguard legitimacy. And you see that you can disagree with these statements. For instance, I would say if the norms in society around them are evil from a moral standpoint, then administrative institutions, from my point of view, should not act in accordance with the norms in the society around them, even if that safeguards their legitimacy. Think of institutions in Nazi Germany, right? So they would probably act in accordance with norms in society around them, but that is not per se desirable. Good. Then let's turn to the opposite part of the spectrum, the positive theories. Those are theories or statements within a theory that make statements about reality or society as it really is, or as the researcher thinks they are. What mechanisms govern it? They describe existing phenomena and mechanics without evaluating them. So this desirability dimension isn't isn't a part of the positive statement. This usually requires empirical data to assess and develop theories. This also means that positive statements can be right or wrong. They are falsifiable. It's possible to falsify them. They can be correct or incorrect, and they should always be testable. That is very important for positive theories, that if you can't observe a condition that could render a statement wrong, then there's something wrong with your formulation, right? Then if it's not falsifiable, it's not really a positive statement. But this also means that any supportive evidence is only preliminary. That's also part of falsification principle in epistemology. So supportive evidence is only preliminary, but not unsupporting, so contradictory evidence immediately rules out a theory, given that there's nothing wrong with the observation or with its interpretation and analysis. So if it's really the finding that a general rule doesn't apply, then it's wrong. Might be wrong only in certain cases and right in others, but then we have to specify where it's right and where it's wrong and adapt the theory accordingly. Okay, back to positive theories. Positive statements, we have two examples, again from news value theory, or this time from news value theory, which would say the more news criteria or news factors apply to a certain news event. News factors would be something like proximity, elite persons, elite nations, and so on. So the more a news event has elite persons, elite nations, and say high damage, the more likely is it that the news event will be covered by the news media. So that is a statement about reality, and it can be right or wrong, and evidence is needed to show if it's right or wrong. So we collect a number of events and see what properties they have. So if they have prominent people, if they have prominent nations, if they have high damage, and so on, and see which of these are covered by the news media. And if the likelihood of being covered in the news media increases with this higher number of news factors, then we have preliminary supportive evidence. But if it's wrong, then this statement is wrong and is falsified. Needs to be reformulated in a way that matches reality. We can do the same for institutional theory again. There we could say organizations tend to become more similar to others in their environment through pressure, imitation, or acting on shared values or beliefs. So we have a sort of adaptation between institutions that are in a similar social environment, a similar social context, and the mechanism through which this functions. This would be the main proposition that you could test. So if we have a set of institutions, of organizations that are in different environments and that are similar on the outset, they should be absorbed into their environment over time. And we can check if that is true or not. So also this is a positive statement. And we should be reminded that, or you should be reminded that usually normative statements and positive statements interact with each other, and there is no such thing as a scientific study that is completely free of normative components or completely free of positive components. You usually need both in different mixtures.